back, baby.
Yeah, here we go. Come on.
I'm here. I'm here for it.
Matt, we have a quasi-new person working with us. Is he required to listen to this show, Business Pants?
Yes.
Good.
That's the only contractual obligation. We need the downloads.
Live from Dum Dum Land, it's yet another Manic Monday edition of Business Pants.
Woo!
Joined by the Lord of the BS, Matt Mascardi. Back from California, I guess. Are you back?
I am. I'm back from sunny California, which, look, I was at the Social Innovation Forum.
So you say. So you say.
Or Summit, Social Innovation Summit. That's what it was. Social Innovation Summit, yeah.
Never heard of that.
It was a little weird because they had the Social Innovation Summit, which is like about, like social justice and directing capital to things like that, in the ballroom where they have the Golden Globes every year.
Oh.
There was no irony about that.
Okay.
So it felt a little weird to have someone who got out of prison and starts this, startup where they're doing like social justice reform, and they're like standing on stage where Ricky Gervais was blasting people for getting plastic surgery. That felt a little weird.
How many people were in attendance?
There were probably 600-700 people at least. Yeah, it was a decent crowd. But there were actually some really cool people that I met there. So I was very conflicted is really how it ended.
I hope they're listening today. I hope they're new.
They're not.
No, good.
They're not.
In today's,
who is listening today? What are we doing today?
I don't know. In today's soggy tater tot, no wonder why they're not listening, called June 12th, 2023, sexy story updates and sleazy academic papers. It's our Monday. This is what we do on Monday.
No, it's our Monday. All right, let's do it.
Let's start off with a major trigger for the anti-woke, the anti-ESG crowd. George Soros, yeah.
Oh, I was going to guess. I was just going to say
what was your guess? Trans or Soros?
Trans or Soros. That's it.
Those are the two, right? The flag, the rainbow flag, trans, all that stuff, and Soros. Those are the two things.
There aren't others.
I guess you could replace Fink with Soros, but same difference.
I mean, level 2 on the anti-woke trigger is like brown people and women, right?
That's true.
Level 1 is trans Soros. If George Soros was trans, I think all of their heads would pop simultaneously.
Well, it looks like it's about to get worse. George Soros, famous right-wing target and philanthropist, handing control of his $25 billion empire to a younger son, Alexander Soros. He's a self-described center-left thinker, which sounds like a perfect person for the ESG industry, really.
Sure, yeah.
Who grew up self-conscious of the family's wealth. I don't know if I really believe that. Maybe a little self-conscious. He wasn't thought to take over the empire, but here he is. He said in his first interview that he was, ready for this? Yeah. Broadening his father's liberal aims.
Oh, no.
Because he's going to be embracing some different causes, including voting and abortion rights, as well as gender equity. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So he's going to make it worse. He's making it worse.
He Nepo baby DEI. Oh.
Yeah, and he's calling himself, he's more political than his dad. So, Vivek, I think you lost, Vivek. I think you should step down.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah. Vivek didn't lose because he accepted George Soros's brother's money.
But that's been whitewashed. That's been woke washed off of his Wikipedia page. So you don't know that anymore, Matt. You don't know that.
Anti-woke washed it. Got it.
Moving on. Partners at a prominent finance firm in London have said its founder, Crispin Odey, is leaving after sexual assault and harassment allegations.
Oh, well. Are we shocked by that?
As follows a Financial Times report, 13 women had accused him of misconduct over 25 years. Tells you something about the culture there, right? This couldn't have been fresh news. This was a hedge fund he founded in 1991. This is a man who was known as a prominent Brexit backer who claimed to have made hundreds of millions of pounds as sterling plummeted in the aftermath of the referendum vote. So
Well
you see what he
played.
did there?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I got it. I'm in on that joke.
So what Odie Partners has basically severed ties with him, saying he will no longer have any economic or personal involvement in the partnership. And in a kind of a version of a glass cliff scenario, they said that they will also undergo a complete rebrand of the partnership in the near future. That seems like a good idea, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, they can't exactly call them like OD partnership, OD Asset Management Group anymore, right?
No, you got to move on. Here's the thing: there is no glass cliff here, Matt. They couldn't even find a member to help with the glass cliff because so 3 men are kind of taking over the roles that this guy leaves behind. I looked at their people. I did a little bit of a board sabermetrics dive on them. They had 6 portfolio managers, all 6 white dudes, 3 senior researchers, they're all 3 dudes, and a management team of 13, which is 11 white dudes, a female lawyer, and then somebody else. But they couldn't even find.
There wasn't even one to clip.
So there's the culture.
Wow.
There's the shocking culture over there.
That's amazing. That's actually really good work for them. You know what? We should celebrate the fact that they're not doing the glass cliff. They're not putting a woman in position to clean
you might
up
be
and
right,
fail.
actually. But to be fair, they couldn't find anyone.
I mean, if we ignore the fact that they had no women to begin with because they didn't like them, then we should celebrate the fact that they didn't glass cliff.
This is like a weird day. These are weird stories today. Silvio Berlusconi, remember him? Former prime minister of Italy.
It's Italy.
Yeah, controlling shareholder of Mediaset, which was Italy's largest media company. They're now owned by Mediaset. Is not in our database, but Media for Europe is. That's the new controlling entity of Mediaset, and it's still majority owned by the Berlusconi family. In fact, 2 of them in our database, his kids control about 46% of the influence there. So what did Silvio do? He died.
Oh, that was a lot of lead up to that. That was a lot of build up.
He's like the Italian Trump. It's very exciting. I feel like it's exciting in some ways. No, he's the more successful version of Trump.
I mean,
Trump is a failure at pretty much everything.
Seems like he's thought about things a lot more.
But he was arrested for fraud, involved in all these sex scandals, a liar, a jerk.
What are we doing
conservative.
here? Who hasn't been? Come on,
Okay.
come on.
But he's like, I just thought it was exciting because he's the original like jerky, controlling blowhard. I don't know. He's gone.
I do. We do like those. In fact, I'm getting the theme of the early part of this show does feel very like Leon Black.
Well, man, it's not over.
Do you remember who was that fund manager who said he started I can't remember the company now. It was one of our favorites early on, our favorite assholes. But he gave a speech in front at a conference and said like approaching
Group?
sales.
Yeah.
He would approach sales like going to pick up a woman at a bar. Do you remember that guy?
Yes.
And then said like all sorts of inappropriate things about picking up women at bars. Like,
unfortunately, I can't recall who that was. I feel like his name was Jeff. I can't recall anything more than that.
Let's just go with Jeff.
But you're not wrong about that. But these stories keep staying in this realm, Matt. And again, this is not my fault. I was just covering the biggest stories in ESG and business. The next one, JP Morgan Chase said it has reached a settlement regarding victims of late sexual predator Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, wow. This is really a...
However, the bank's litigation with the U.S. Virgin Islands and its claims against former CEO Jess Staley are still active. According to the New York Times, the bank is prepared to pay $290 million to resolve the lawsuit.
It is a bit... I'm going to say something probably controversial. It's a bit weird to yell at the bank for the guy who did the horrible things. I mean, the bank should sever ties with him, yes. But it seems like the only person who's really been held accountable right now is the bank.
Well, I guess Epstein is dead.
Yeah.
Died in prison.
I mean, like, we have like princes and politicians and all sorts of other people who are actually involved in the heinous stuff directly, who are not yet held accountable. I'm just waiting for those.
Am I wrong?
It's fine.
Am I wrong? But the settlement agreement suggests that J.P. Morgan Chase thinks it would have lost. So they must have. They might not agree with you, J.P. Morgan. They might think that they were up to some shenanigans, maybe.
No, these settlements, it might have been true that they might have lost, but these settlements usually are because it's more expedient to pay to, like, this is a parking ticket. $290 million is...
Suppose you're right.
Nothing.
Moving on. Remember the Meta whistleblower for Frances Haugen?
I do. Frances. Yeah. Still around. She's still doing stuff?
She's back. She just had an interview in the UK press. She has a book coming out. She has a very flashy headline this morning. Meta whistleblower says tens of millions could die in the coming years if social media is not overhauled.
Wow.
And what she's blaming is a continued lack of transparency, which is really double talk for saying what we always say is that we can't allow Mark Zuckerberg to sort of control everything with no oversight. Isn't that what she's saying?
I think she said governance and disclosure will kill 10 million people. I like that.
And here's part of the reason why here's why she's saying this, Matt. Part of it is based in 2018. The United Nations investigators said Facebook substantively contributed to the Myanmar genocide.
Oh,
through through like various disinformation and various blah blah blah. Anyway, that's where she's citing that from.
Yeah, but Zuckerberg just appointed a task force to stop pedophiles on Instagram. So isn't there just a task force they can put this? They can just do a task force.
Here's where I included the story. Here's what I'm hoping is that all the nudniks who are going after TikTok Francis will help them realize that the same lack of transparency also exists at other social media empires.
It's a bit bananas. Yeah, what are we doing with TikTok when we have our own dictator going on?
In a proxy fight that we've basically ignored because proxy fights, they seem exciting, Matt, but really they're kind of quite boring. No?
Yeah, you keep doing them on every Wednesday show somehow.
Well, this is on a Monday because Illumina has announced that CEO Francis D'Souza is stepping down after a long proxy fight from Carl Icahn. Here's how it worked. This is a little confusing, this one. So Carl called for voters to vote against Chair John Thompson and CEO Francis D'Souza. Shareholders decided to vote out Thompson, and he left. Somehow he listened. He left.
Okay.
D'Souza actually got 71% of yes votes, but he stayed for a month, and then now he's gone. Now he's leaving.
Oh, that's too bad.
I don't really get this one. Also, 86% of voters said no on Say on Pay. Again, the reason why I bring this up is I don't get what works in this realm of the alternative democracy. Why do some things work? Why do they listen to Icahn here and say no on Say on Pay? Why do they vote out the chair but not the CEO? What? Why? I don't get anything, Matt.
Here's my real question about this. They voted out... D'Souza effectively got voted in but left, and they vote out Thompson. But they left in, according to our data, the second most influential person is Bob Epstein.
Yes.
It was D'Souza and Epstein who were your power duo. Thompson is a close third. But what's Epstein doing? Why is Epstein no one cares about that guy?
And this is why Carl needs to use our data. I'm actually not joking, because if he had used our data, he'd know that not only is he the longest serving director and the chair of the nominating committee, but yes, as Matt points out, had the second most influence. So he should have also been a target.
He definitely should have been a target.
Yeah.
Does this also mean D'Souza is on the Disney board, Thompson's on the Microsoft board? If you don't like them for Illumina, why do we like them for other boards?
This is what we're trying to figure out here at Board Sabermetrics.
If they stink at their job, do they not stink at the other jobs that they have that are substantially the same job, just somewhere else?
I like it. The other wrinkle here I don't understand, and once again, I don't get these proxy fights. I don't get shareholders. I don't get anything. Carl Icahn also put up 3 nominees, his own nominees. One only one passed with 59% of the vote, and another one failed with 91% against. So, but I don't really. But why? I just don't get why.
Against?
I don't get why one. I just don't get anything.
I mean, it seems
and I
very
looked at them;
clear.
they're all the same guy. I mean, there's a range of ages, but they're all just people who work for Carl Icahn, essentially. So I just don't really get why anyone cares or why they make these decisions.
I see. I think what ends up happening here is like one ISS Glass Lewis, one of the like proxy advisors says, okay, you want 3 directors. That's too many.
Okay,
you can
we'll
have
give you one.
Here's the
Okay.
one. And then they
might
pick
be right,
that name
actually.
out
You
of
might
a
be right.
hat. And then they say, you want to get rid of 3 people. Well, you can get rid of one, and they pick that name out of a hat.
This
and
is
Bob
why
Epstein just didn't get picked out of the hat. That's all.
This is why even ISS needs to use our data. In fact, have we tried to sell to ISS yet? Because our data would be extremely helpful for these types of fights. These proxy fights.
I love the fact that the one that they put on, Andrew Tenno.
Yeah.
Andrew Tenno has, according to our data, I'm looking on our platform, which we roll out next week, people. Next week we roll this out.
Yes. Ooh, I'm excited.
He's on 3 other boards.
Oh.
And he's got 0, 9, and 10% influence on those 3 other boards.
See, I wish I had looked that up because I thought they just went with him because he's young. He's the youngest one,
young.
but he's busy. He's too busy.
He's a little
You don't want
active.
this guy.
Yeah.
You don't want him.
Come on. You don't want this is ridiculous. All right, continue.
Also, in a category. Oh no! Before I get to that, no, I'll do that one first. I'm going to end on a light note. I'm going to go with this one next. In a category that I usually reserve for just dudes and bros, the failing upward category, I have a new one.
Yeah.
I have a woman. A woman failed up. I think.
Failed up woman. Oh,
Yeah, it's unusual.
Look at that. Oh, wow.
So this is
congratulations. I don't even know who it is. I'm just glad they got a shot to fail up.
This is the former co-CEO. Oh, the audience really into
They're
it.
really into the
This
idea.
feels like our last Business Pants performance, Business Pants Corporate Theater.
Yeah, which was a good show also, but different.
Okay, wait till you hear the story. But I agree with you. I'm proud of her too for failing upwards. This is the former co-CEO of failed U.S. lender First Republic, right? So first, her name is Hafize. Sorry, I am butchering her name. Feze Gay Erkan. She's Turkish. So in January of last year, she abruptly resigned as co-CEO, even though she was tagged to be the heir apparent of First Republic Bank. She was only on the job for 7 months, and then of course, maybe partly by her doing, I don't know, the bank fails. Okay, First Republic fails. Then she took over as the boss of Greystone. Matt, she lasted there for 4 months.
Oh,
Not even 4 months. And now she's appointed as the first woman to run the Central Bank of the Republic of Turkey.
let's.
No, you're not calling this a fail up? I mean,
That
if you're
is failing
Turkish,
up.
this is a fail up.
That is failing up.
Oh, you're
However,
seeing this as a fail down. I like
the,
this.
The thing about failing up into
Mm-hmm.
a regulator position is it's not the same as failing up into, like, David Zaslav failed
Mm-hmm.
with CNN Chris Licht and kept $200 million of compensation for himself. That's what failing up feels like.
That's what
to me.
that's what it feels like. Yeah.
This one feels like failing adjacent. I think the crowd should take back its cheering.
You're saying it's going to be a lot of hard work, but what about I'm guessing that there might be some opportunity for some good old-fashioned corruption?
Yeah,
I mean,
not to mention the fact that she worked at a bank that utterly failed, and now she's leading all banks as a regulator in Turkey. I'm not
for a
sure.
very corrupt prime minister. I just think there could be some good graft coming her way. That's all I'm
not
thinking.
sure. This doesn't feel good anymore.
I don't know.
I liked
Let's
it
check the
before.
records later. I think
liked
there's
it
going to be some
before.
mysterious checks headed her way. That's all I'm saying.
I liked it before. Let's do a nerd alert.
Oh, wait, before we get to that, I do want to wrap up on this. I thought you'd be tickled by this. Cops in San Francisco yell at a stalled self-driving cruise car, made by GM, by General Motors, to get out of the way during a mass shooting in San Francisco. Videos show the car stalling in the street as police shout for it to move.
Wow. Well,
I don't know why. I shouldn't be laughing at mass shootings, but I like that the future we're heading towards. It's just like the humans that are left that still have our vocal cords and can still make decisions on their own are going to be screaming at objects, screaming at
get out of the way,
right? I mean, this is our future.
Was there a person in the car, or was it just driving?
No.
I love this. Oh, this is actually fantastic. That's fantastic. A humanless car that they had to yell.
All right, come on, move on.
All right, let's do this thing. All right, we have a nerd alert today, and the headline of this nerd alert is "We, as in free float, board sabermetrics, are correct." The paper,
finally.
100%
Wait, can we end the
correct.
show right here? Can we just stop the show?
That's it. That's the whole nerd alert. Here's the paper. It's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. It's by Alex Edmonds, Caroline Flammer, and Simon Glossner. It was from May of 2023, and it's part of the National Bureau of Economic Research Papers series on diversity.
Okay.
So what they did, here's the upshot. Quote, "We show that DEI is only weakly correlated with traditional measures of demographic diversity, such as percentages of women and ethnic minorities on the board, senior management, CEO position, and wider workforce." Translation,
yes.
Counting bodies is not diversity.
That's why hello, female power gap. We're here for you.
That's what we did. In fact, I actually offered Professor Edmonds our data. He was
already
soliciting.
reached out. I love this.
I reached out to him before he did this paper because he was looking for data on diversity, and I said, "Take ours. We have a ton." And at that point, he said, by the time I reached out, he said, "We have some.
Go F yourself.
Go away." Yeah.
Okay.
But now it's time for him to come back to us because
they
found that companies in strong financial positions. That's like they have strong sales growth over 3 years. They give out dividends, and their 1 year stock returns don't matter. They go up, they go down. Nobody cares. They actually have a better focus on giving people, diversity and inclusion. It stops being about demographics and it starts being about power and influence.
Actual leadership.
Like diversity, and having diversity at the top doesn't actually matter. Women in senior management is better for diversity, like true diversity, not demographic diversity. But female CEO, board members isn't necessary. You don't need that.
Okay, this is confusing. But the other stories do suggest, though, that having women and board members, it does sort of trickle down, right, throughout the organization.
Well, their point is that the percentages of diverse people may increase when you have more women as CEO or on the board.
Sure.
But those people's power or comfort or a feeling of inclusion does not necessarily increase.
I can understand that, but I would also say that probably is true in the short term, but in the long term, I'm hoping that will change, no? After being at the firm for a while, maybe?
Well, the average, how long does that last? Most of the women who get that job are basically glass cliff CEOs.
Well,
they can't do very much, right?
And then you end up running the central bank of the Republic of Turkey. Yeah,
exactly. Right. Where, but if their starting premise is if the company's in a strong financial position already, right, then diversity is more likely to happen.
Interesting.
Like, inclusion is more likely to happen for real.
Everybody's feeling good, so let's like open the barn doors. Yeah.
How can we say? The paper saying that having a female CEO is not actually correlated to diversity. Yeah, but how many of those female CEOs got the job when the company was in a strong financial position?
Right.
Most of them get it to clean up from the bros that just left, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So it's not exactly like you can say that, having women at the top doesn't matter.
Right.
But they found that actual diversity includes a feeling of inclusion by employees is positively associated with 7 of 8 measures of profitability.
Wow.
And body count is not. So
wow.
The methodology they used, they looked at the Great Places to Work survey data. And this is why I said, you got to use our data. We have real data. We didn't go out and take a paycheck from a company to give them a survey. We're not like conflicted like that, right?
And plus, I mean, that's the best you can come up with. Great places to work. That's the name of it. Come on, you could do better than that.
But they did pick out of a 58 question
off the top of my head, you could have been like very, very, very good places to work. That would be more.
You could have been above mediocre places to work. And,
places you don't want to shoot yourself in between the
places where they do clean up the toaster oven when they're done with it.
Ooh, that nice. Yeah,
they identified 13 of the 58 survey questions as and the questions look like, this is a psychologically and emotionally healthy place to work, or I can be myself around here.
Ooh.
Basically, they got to the feeling of inclusivity. They didn't get to actual power. We have power. But they compared the feeling of inclusivity to demographics and financial return.
Interesting.
Which is why, in conclusion, Alex, for your next paper, use Board Sabermetrics power data, because representation is not power, but even the feeling of inclusivity is not really power. You want power. It's time.
I'm actually going to set aside all jokes for like 20 seconds and say,
we'll see.
Yes. Here's an actual real opportunity. See, no matter what I think of this, the results of this paper, we do need more and more studies like this. But yes, Matt, you're right. I am hoping that our data spawns a bunch more surveys like this, a bunch more research like this, right? I mean,
it should be everywhere,
right?
I mean, self-servingly so. Obviously.
Yes, of course. All right. Maybe I was joking. I don't even know.
We're like two idiots in the 90s who aren't sure if we're being sarcastic anymore.
Someone has to try. Someone has to try to further the research in our field.
That's all we got. That's Damian Rollis. I am the Lord of BS, and I'm back, at least for now.
Just because nobody asked for ESG 2.0 doesn't mean that we can't create the data that is the ESG 2.0.
It's already done. Look out for our platform. We'll have more announcements coming this week. But we are Free Float. This was Business Pants. Until tomorrow. Do we have corporate theater tomorrow?
We'll see what happens.
We might have something tomorrow. Damian is very cryptic.
Gotta start over
whether
now.
or not he wants to have a sandwich instead of doing his job. Until then, goodbye.